When Royal Enfield says a bike is fueled by gut feel, you might expect more marketing puff than substance. The Bear 650, however, takes that bluster and dresses it in knobbly tyres and a number plate, then settles down to prove the point on roads both tarmac smooth and freshly gravelled. Launched as a scrambler-styled member of the company's burgeoning 650 family, the Bear is less a radical rework than a purposeful retune of a proven formula. Familiar parallel twin power married to scrambler geometry, bigger wheels, and a whole lot of attitude. From a distance, the Bear looks like a 1960s road racer who discovered off-road riding and never quite gave up the looks. Royal Enfield leans hard into retro cues: high-mounted, 2-into-1 exhaust, a kicked-up rear loop, a prominent number board, and a slim, contoured scrambler seat that invites you to move around rather than tuck in. Yet within that vintage shell are subtly modern appointments: braced, wide handlebars, a compact LCD dash surrounded by a single round binnacle, and a finish quality that feels a step up from the brand's more value-focused models. The aesthetic is deliberately raw but not unfinished. It's a bike with vintage manners and modern reliability. Mechanically, the Bear is reassuringly familiar. It uses Royal Enfield's well-travelled 648 cubic centimetre parallel twin, the same basic heart that powers the Interceptor and Continental GT. That engine remains the Bear's beating, forgiving centre, a torquey, mid-range emphatic unit that's more about usable shove than the headline horsepower. The company's tuning here accentuates low-end and mid-range tractability, which suits the Bear's scrambler brief. Tractable exits from loose surface corners, easy roll-on throttle when the road reappears, and a comforting, characterful exhaust note, courtesy of the bespoke 2-to-1 system. In short, it's an engine you'll live with happily rather than one you'll lust after. The Bear's visual transformation has mechanical teeth. A 19-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear, coupled with chunky dual-purpose tyres, immediately change the bike's stance and steering feel. Suspension has longer travel than the road-biased Interceptor, and the frame is tweaked to accommodate a more upright, elbows-up riding position. The result is a machine that neither pretends to be a full-on off-roader, nor concedes to the tarmac-only brigade. Rather, it sits perfectly in the road scrambler slot, able to take gravel roads, country lanes, and occasional rough patches with composure. That compromise does bring trade-offs. The heavier wheels and knobbly tyres take a little finesse in quick direction changes and leave the Bear less eager than a sportier twin when you push corner speeds hard. Point the Bear down a twisty A-road and you immediately notice the bike's temperament: honest, predictable, and slightly more deliberate than lighter, sharper machines. The mid-range torque means you rarely need to wring the throttle. Overtakes happen with calm authority, and the gearbox is a workmanlike partner, precise if not gloriously slick. The chassis is confidence-inspiring rather than sporty. There's a reassuring planted quality through sweepers, and the suspension soaks mid-sized bumps with little fuss. If you're the sort of rider who measures fun by cornering G-loads, this won't replace your weekend superbike. But if you value a motorcycle that invites varied rides, a morning commute, a backroad blast, a weekend campsite run, the Bear's combination of stability and playfulness is hard to fault. Royal Enfield pitches the Bear at riders who want the look and occasional capability of an off-road machine without the compromise of a full-on dual sport. On dirt tracks and forest roads, the Bear is competent. Traction is decent. The relaxed power delivery helps prevent surprise slides, and the taller handlebars let you shuffle weight easily. That said, the Bear isn't a lightweight enduro. Its wet weight and ergonomics mean long technical sections or serious rock hopping are out of its comfort zone. Think of it as adventure light, good for exploring farm tracks and the odd bridleway, but not for replacing an adventure bike if your commute includes boulder fields. Braking duties are handled with modern competence. 320mm front disc and 270mm rear discs are paired with ABS, and the system's bite feels linear and confidence-inspiring, rather than sharp and alarmingly grabby. Rider aids are minimal. No cornering ABS, no traction control, just the basic electronics package that suits a motorcycle designed for simplicity and feel. Practical details are sensible. A broadly flat seat that's fine for medium-distance days. Decent reach to the controls for the majority of riders. And a small fuel tank that balances vintage looks with respectable range for this class. If you want gadgetry, the Bear keeps it pared down. If you want a machine that encourages riding skill and engagement, that's precisely the point. Part of a scrambler's charm is sound, and Royal Enfield has done well to give the Bear a bark that suits its persona. Metallic, throaty, and nicely voiced through the 2-to-1 exhaust. Vibration is present at higher revs. The parallel twin cannot escape its mechanical character, but it's not intrusive at cruising speeds. Long highway runs expose the Bear's limitations. At sustained motorway speeds, the wind and engine note become more noticeable, and the seating position isn't as relaxed as a dedicated touring machine. For mixed-use riding, however, the ergonomics strike a pleasant balance. Active enough for standing and manoeuvring off-road, yet comfortable enough for extended backroad runs. Royal Enfield positions the Bear competitively in the middleweight scrambler market. It borrows the trusted 648 cubic centimetre twin that's known for durability and easy maintenance, and pairs it with components and design choices that offer a distinct personality without outrageous pricing. Across markets, the Bear's pricing is pitched to undercut many European rivals that offer similar style but with much higher price tags, making the Bear an attractive entry into middleweight scramblers for riders who want authenticity over boutique tech. The official spec list: 19-inch front, 17-inch rear wheels, scrambler seat, high-wide handlebars, 2-to-1 exhaust, and the parallel twin engine, reads like a focused recipe for a particular rider type. Those who want vintage-inspired looks with modern reliability. The Bear's strengths are clear: characterful engine, purposeful styling, and an honest, usable riding experience that rewards rather than overwhelms. It's a machine that invites exploration without pretending to be something it's not. On the flip side, the heavier wheels and semi-knobby tyres blunt sharp steering and make the bike feel less nimble than some rivals on tight, technical roads. Some riders will miss more advanced electronics or a longer-range tank. Finally, if you're seeking pure off-road capability or blistering performance, the Bear isn't the answer. But for what it sets out to be, it's well executed. The Royal Enfield Bear 650 is for the rider who values personality and versatility in equal measure. It's for the person who wants a bike that looks like it belongs in a grainy black and white photograph, yet performs reliably on modern roads. For the weekend escapee who swaps motorway, stretches for gravel lanes. For the new owner stepping up from smaller bikes who wants character without unnecessary complication. Royal Enfield has taken a proven mechanical platform and given it a coherent new identity. The Bear doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it gives the wheel a grittier tread and a louder exhaust note. And for many riders, that's exactly the point. If you're shopping in the middleweight scrambler class and want an affordable, charismatic motorcycle with genuine cross-country charm, the Bear 650 deserves to be on your shortlist. It's not the fastest, nor the most tech-laden, but it is, in equal measure, easy to live with, delightfully characterful, and properly fun when the road gets interesting. For Royal Enfield, the Bear strengthens an already compelling 650 cubic centimetre family, and it does so while keeping a grin-inducing simplicity that many riders still crave.